So welcome to the Deal Final Corner. So this is your weekly property talk show brought to you by Property Filter, hosted by myself, Guillaume Black. I'm your favorite Frenchman, CEO and co-founder at Property Filter. So as you know, it's the UK's highest rated platform to find deals. And we are on a mission to empower our property investor and deal finder sourcers and deal sourcer members to find 1,000 deals yet again this year, thanks to the Property Filter blueprint. And really the purpose with this Deal Finder Corner is to give you more and the best of the available resources by inviting expert guests who will share with you the latest and most current strategy, tactics, and secrets about what actually works right now in terms of finding and making deals and the reality of systemizing and running a high-performance business in property. So it really is my immense pleasure to introduce you to my very good friend, Sam Cooke, on today's Deal Finder Corner. So Sam started his career in property as an estate agent in 2020. And after COVID, Sam set up his first business as a property sourcer whilst he was working as the marketing manager at Blue Bricks magazine. And a couple of years ago, in 2022, Sam actually took over and bought Blue Brick magazine from the previous owners. And he then transformed it into a profitable enterprise, increasing its readership nationally. And he launched the Blue Brick Property Awards, which will take place on the 19th of June. So I think the tickets are sold out, and I'm very much looking forward to be at the event as well. So really happy and excited to have Sam on our Deal Finder Corner today. So what do you expect from today? What you can expect from today's episode? So one is Sam will share his journey and tell us how you can discover different ways you can raise your profile and become an industry authority. Discover 3 tools and techniques you can use to build your personal brand and find your investor avatar and become a magnet for them. And then be followed by an exclusive Q&A, and we get access to Sam like we don't really get a chance to usually. So I'm very much looking forward to hear more about Sam's talk today. So please give a massive Property Filter virtual welcome to Mr. Sam Cooke. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello. So first of all, it's that age-old question on Zoom. Can you all see my screen? Can you see the presentation?
I can, yep.
Right, you can see the presentation. Great. You can't see my mess of internet tabs then. Well, yeah, it's lovely to see you all. I've performed this talk now across the UK, but doing it online is new to me. So I can already see a few familiar faces in the audience. I've got a few people who've got the screen on at the moment, so I might ask for some engagement, stick your hands up, that kind of thing. If nothing else, then for me to feel like I'm not speaking to myself. So what can you expect from today's talk? Guillaume's already done a wonderful introduction, but essentially what I'm going to help you to do today is raise your profile. Some people call it personal branding. I don't really like that term too much, so I'm just going to call it raising your profile and how you can do that to attract investors and raise private finance. One kind of thing that I want to say about this talk is that everything I'm about to recommend is something that I have personally done myself and gotten results from, or something that I know someone personally who has done this and gotten results. So all of this is based on evidence. You're not going to get any kind of wishy-washy advice like, do your affirmations, do your goal setting, get a cold shower. It's none of that. It's all proper practical tips that you can use in your business. There's one other contingency that I need to say. If you are a business owner and you own a business not directly related to property, then take what I'm about to say with a pinch of salt, for the reason being that this is all about raising your personal profile. And if you are looking to sell your business in the next kind of 3 years, if your business revolves around you, it can sometimes make it quite difficult to sell. So if you have got a separate business outside of property, the tricks I'm going to use you will still work, but you've just got to be a little bit careful. So without further ado, let's get started. So who am I? I'll do a quick introduction into who I am and why I'm on this call today. So my name is Sam Cooke. I'm the owner and editor of Blue Bricks magazine. My history is a little bit different to everyone else in terms of property. I did start as an estate agent, but before estate agents and before property, I was actually a stand-up comedian. And I used to go up and down the country performing stand-up comedy to crowds, sometimes of hundreds of people, sometimes of 3 people. And I'll explain a bit more about that later and how it relates to this presentation. The reason that I tell people that is that it is relevant to something I talk about later on. And I find that if I don't tell you at the start that I used to be a stand-up comedian, it takes people by surprise. But I ended up getting involved in property and marketing. And to cut a long story short, I ended up being a marketing manager for Blue Bricks Property magazine in 2021, right at the start of 2021, as COVID was kind of hitting that second tier. And At the time, Blue Bricks Magazine was a brand new start-up business. It was just me and the two directors. Blue Bricks Magazine was also owned by a private equity firm. So it was owned by one lady called Caroline, and the other director owned a private equity firm. And what that firm used to do, they would buy and sell businesses. So they would find businesses that were suitable for acquisition, and they would buy them, add value to them, add them to groups, sometimes sell them. I ended up working kind of part-time for Blue Bricks Magazine and part-time for the private equity firm. So my role was to be the marketing manager for Blue Bricks and push that forward and get it a name. And my other role was to actually find businesses that would be suitable for sale. I'd then approach those businesses and work with my directors to structure deals in which we could then purchase them. Basically, when you're buying businesses, you can sometimes do what you do in property, where there are creative strategies that you can use, low money down, that kind of thing. Using the techniques that the director of the equity firm taught me, I then bought Blue Bricks Magazine off of him. And that's how I became the owner of Blue Bricks Magazine in 2022. When I bought Blue Bricks Magazine 2 years ago, it was an unprofitable business and it was largely unknown. It had a cult following in the north of England in Newcastle, Darlington way, but other than that, it had no real presence, especially in London. My first kind of job when I bought Blue Bricks Magazine was not just to keep the magazine printing, but also to make it profitable because we were losing money every single month. So everything I'm about to show you is how I took Blue Bricks from unprofitable and unknown, made it one of the most well-known magazines in the industry, made it profitable. We're now hiring staff and got it to where it is today. If you look at the screen here, there's a reason I put some pictures up. So the image on the left is me winning the Young Business Person of the Year award at the Cambridgeshire Awards. I did get the bronze edition. I've never said this on the talk before, but I came second to a dog grooming company. It has haunted me to this day. I'm not a sore loser, but of all the companies to lose to, that is definitely the worst one. The image on the right is me in the House of Lords in what was it? Yeah, in the House of Lords essentially with the Honourable Lord Richard Evans there. We're sponsors and partners of a group called Affinity Networking. Affinity Networking is a high-end construction networking event. So I was there with the heads of Gleeds, member of the UK Parliament, member of the Jamaican government as well. Also there with people like the heads of the RIBA and that kind of thing. So just an idea of like the sort of people that Blue Bricks is connected to now, which again, let me keep reminding you, 2 years ago we weren't even known. So if I can do all this stuff, you can too. I've also been asked to be a judge for the Property Investor Awards. And alongside that, I just found out it was the day before yesterday that we've been finalised for the HMO Awards for the best content provider at the HMO Awards. So that's something I'm really, really pleased about. And obviously looking forward to going to the HMO Awards and seeing if we win. So now you know who I am and you've got a bit of a better idea. I'm credible and why I can show you these things in my history. Let me tell you just a tiny bit about Blue Bricks Magazine. So what is Blue Bricks? As you can probably tell for the name, we're a magazine for property investors, property developers. I do need to update this slide. These are some of our older issues, but just to give you a type of idea of the people that we interview. So we target what I call career landlords, people that are full-time in the property industry, or at the very least are aspiring to be full-time. We love people who, like you, are taking time out of their day to learn a bit more about property, because property is a passion. It's not just a side hobby, it's a career, it's something that you love. And that's really our target market. And we believe in providing people with the real advice in property. So what we mean is the good, the bad, and the ugly, the real things you need to know to grow your property portfolio. So we avoid things like no money down. We avoid things like you'll be a millionaire overnight, get rich quick. That's really not our bag. We really want to show you the truth. Yes, you can make money from property. Yes, you can become wealthy. And this is how you do it. And we do that by interviewing people that have been there, got the t-shirt and built success from literally zero. We ask them their advice for success, but more importantly, we ask them about their failures, some of the mistakes they made, so that you know how to overcome those and avoid them. We also have sections on there about tax, accountancy, about planning gain, everything you need to know as a property investor. Like I say, these are just a few examples of our front cover features. People like James Sinclair. James Sinclair built an 8-figure business portfolio of businesses. I'll be talking a bit about him later. People like Sarah McDermott. Sarah McDermott again built an 8-figure business that was property, high-end holiday lets. Same with the team at Whitebox, they're new build developers, and I'm sure a few of you also recognise Ranjan Bhattacharya from Sky TV. Other people that we've interviewed, we've got one coming out this year, was Alfie Best, also known as the Gypsy Billionaire. Alfie's just had a documentary on Prime, Amazon Prime, I believe it is. That was an amazing interview, and I can't wait to publish that later. And the final thing I'll say about Blue Bricks magazine is what we believe in. Because if you know what Blue Bricks believes in, you'll know what I believe in. I believe in knowledge. I genuinely think as a publication, I've got a huge responsibility on my shoulders when providing knowledge. I have to make sure that the information is accurate, that it is correct, and that it is genuinely helpful to the people reading it. It is not a position I take lightly. I always want to provide good content. That's why we've been finalised for the best content provider at the HMO Awards. It's something I take a lot of pride in. It's got to be helpful for you. Number two is value. I always want to give back and help our readers do what I can for them. I'm looking at ways at the moment we have discounts for certain service providers like architects. We get no cutback from that. We make no money from that. It's just little ways that we can go out and help the people that subscribe to our magazine. And number three is community. I run a monthly networking event in Leeds under the Blue Bricks banner, but that event is also live streamed across the whole of the UK too. So you can join it from the comfort of your own home, a bit like this, and see speakers that travel from all over the UK to talk there. As you can see, that's a really happy, engaged room. And I believe in bringing people together because we can help each other to grow. Property is an extremely lonely game. You know, scrolling through Rightmove on an evening, it's not the most fun of tasks. And bringing people together that understand your journey, understand you, and can help you to succeed is something that I think is paramount, not just for business, but for your mental health as well. And the Blue Bricks Property Awards, Gilliam mentioned this earlier, he's actually been nominated for the Best Property Tech Company as well. So really excited for that. I know it's a fantastic system that he's got. I'm very confident he'll be finalised. However, I'm not involved in the judging process, but I have that confidence there. We've completely sold out, so I won't say too much on this, but essentially we've got 220 people coming to this lovely venue here, which is Peckforton Castle in Chester. We are the first ever property awards to focus on ethical investment. So this isn't about who's doing the biggest deal, who's got the most money in the bank, who's got the most experience. We're all about supporting people who are doing the right things for the right reasons, helping out in their local community, helping out with social housing, helping with local charities, people that have used property to transform their lives and build their way up from nothing. So it's the first ever awards of its type, and it's already completely sold out within 3 months of marketing it. So that's going to be a fantastic evening. If you do want to learn a bit more about this, if there's any way you'd like to get involved, contact me after this and I can definitely see what we can do, or at the very least put you on the reserve list in case anyone drops out. So that's enough about me now. Let's talk about you and what you want as a property investor. So I travel up and down the UK meeting investors like you all the time, and I have found that property investors are extremely simple creatures, for the reason being that we only ever want one of two things. Property investors either want more deals or they want more money. It really is that simple. So what am I going to help you with today? I'm going to help you to make more money. However, if you use the strategies I'm about to teach you, it will help you in getting more off-market opportunities too. But for the sake of this talk, I'm going to focus on raising finance, finding finance, that kind of thing. So let's focus on the money then. So if you have a notepad and pen or you've got your phone in front of you, you might want to take some notes because this is probably the most important slide. And if you can get this right, it will make a massive difference. If you've ever spoken to a marketing agency before, or you've listened to anyone talk about marketing, you'll have probably heard the term customer avatar. Customer avatar is basically who's your ideal customer, what do they look like? The idea being that when you know who your ideal customer is, you can market to them better. However, people that are looking for private finance often miss this step when they're looking for property investors or looking for investors for their business. Why is it important? And I'll tell you a story to explain. When I used to work for the private equity firm, and I used to have to go out and find businesses to buy, one of my other jobs was actually raising money for a hedge fund at the same time. And what we used to learn while working alongside the hedge funds and the private equity firm was we met a wealth of different investors. Now, I'm from an area called Bradford. I knew virtually no business owners before starting this role. I did not come from money or know anyone with money. So this was brand new territory to me. I thought millionaires and multimillionaires were these mythical creatures. I knew they existed, but I'd never seen one. Or maybe I had seen one, but I just didn't realize. And now working for this private equity firm, we met lots of people with lots of money. And what surprised me was they were all so different. So I'll give you two examples, two people that are real people that are complete polar opposites. I'll just change the names just so obviously I'm not releasing any information. But we had the first guy, let's call the first guy Simon. And Simon was, if you imagine money, if you imagine someone with money, that is exactly what he looked like. He used to join Zoom calls in a dressing gown. He used to smoke a cigar while he was on the calls. It was proper old money, properly posh. You know, someone you look at and you go, old money. That's exactly what he looked like and exactly how he acted. And he had lots of money in the bank, lots of liquid money. And what he wanted to do was invest that money to make a return on his investment. We're all familiar with that. And he used to invest in businesses, stocks, shares, hedge funds, everything. The other lady that we met was the complete polar opposite, but she had £1 million liquid cash sat in the bank. The reason that she had £1 million liquid was that she had a surgery with the NHS, and the NHS had botched this surgery. And what had happened was they'd basically, I think they'd crippled her for life, but they'd done something severely wrong. She had to claim through the NHS, and then she had £1 million liquid through the claim that she made. Now, this lady had never invested before. She had no background in business. She was just your standard working class individual. And now she's got £1 million and she's got no idea what to do with it. The reason that I'm telling you about these two people is that although they've both got money and although they've both be people that could invest in you and your projects, what they want to see and what they want to hear are two completely different things. And that's why it's so, so important to have a customer avatar, because what John wants to hear and what this lady wants, or what Simon wants to hear and what this lady wants to hear are two completely different things. Um, if you have ever had the pleasure of being around when you've had to call an ambulance for someone, you might have known something. Now, I've ticked off every single emergency service that I've had to call. I've done fire, ambulance, and police. And what you find when they come out is they're very, very specific when they talk to you. So if a ambulance comes up and let's say someone's on the floor, they're in a bad way, they would say to you in the blue jumper, go and get something to support the head. You in the white top, go and call for help. What I'm trying to say is they're very, very specific when giving instructions, because they know if they shout, someone go get a headrest, no one will do it. And it's the exact same when you're marketing your business. You have to have a super specific message. What I would do if I was you, if this was your type of investor, you might want to put something on if you're trying to attract Simon. You might put a Facebook post that says, I'm looking for a business owner that has recently sold their business for 6 figures or more in the past 6 months and now doesn't know what to do with the next stages of their lives. That is miles more specific than just saying, I'm looking for someone to invest in my below market opportunity in Bristol for a 6% return on investment. We've all seen those messages on the Facebook forums, and there's a reason that they don't get a lot of engagement. So take some time after this talk to just have an idea of who it is you want to work with. I'll give you a tip. Just because someone's high net worth doesn't mean that they're going to make a good investor. Some high net worths are a pain in the ass to work with. And on top of that, if they're very, very wealthy, the chances are they've got access to other finance options that give them more than 6%. Some of the options we were working with gave people up to 25% ROI a year. So if you go into that person and saying, I'll give you 6% on a buy to let, it's just not going to be effective for them. All investors have something in common. This is actually contradictory to the point that I've just made. I've told you that all investors are different. Some people have got more money, some people have got more experience, but regardless of Simon and this lady or any other investor you meet, they all have one very important thing in common, and that is that they want to invest in someone with credibility. So when I talk about raising your profile, this is why I don't call it personal branding. I'm also talking about becoming more credible. So it's not just about putting yourself out there, it's about becoming more trusted by the people that work with you. I'll give you an example of how this works. The gentleman on the front cover here is Paul Million. Paul Million's quite a popular investor in the north of England. He's also been nominated for a few awards at the Blue Bricks Awards. Before I bought Blue Bricks magazine, I think this was 2020, the people that owned it published an article, something to do with like, what are investors doing during COVID? Bit of a column where different people could write in and say, you know, I'm doing X, I'm doing Y, I'm doing Z. Paul Million wrote an article in the magazine in Blue Bricks, and it was published. And I might have the story slightly wrong, but the ending's correct. I think one of the magazines ended up in an estate agency, and there was a gentleman sat in this estate agency, and he picked up a copy of Blue Bricks magazine, read through it, and he saw Paul's article. Now, Paul's got a very, very specific way of writing that makes it quite eye-catching. This person was really impressed with what Paul had to say, and he actually ended up contacting Paul and investing £425,000 in him. Now, this isn't me saying write in Blue Bricks magazine and we'll get you £500,000. I'm not saying that whatsoever, but I'm just saying through a mixture of chance and through a mixture of credibility and raising his profile, this happens. So it's just a real life example of how what I'm about to show you can actually work to get some real results. So one way to grow your credibility is by raising your profile. But what are the benefits of putting yourself out there? Because let's face it, it's uncomfortable putting yourself in the firing line. It's uncomfortable. We all have the fear of judgment. We all have imposter syndrome. We all have the fear of being, judged by our social media following. So what are the benefits of pushing yourself out your comfort zone and getting out there? Well, number one, you get increased reach. Thanks to the digital age that we now live in, we can now speak to thousands of people with one post. We don't have to go knocking on individual doors anymore or running around having coffees with individuals. I can do a talk like this to 51 people. You also get to join the pool game. Now, James Sinclair, who I taught you about earlier, he's got a 8-figure business portfolio. He's got property and businesses. If you don't know James Sinclair, I recommend following him on Instagram. He does some really, really good content for entrepreneurs, really valuable stuff. I've just finished his book, How to Get More Customers. Brilliant book. Everything he does is absolutely fantastic and he knows his stuff. I interviewed James, one of the most informative and useful interviews I've ever done. And I said to James, I was like, what is the difference between being a successful business owner and not being successful? Like, you've met loads of successful people. What makes someone successful? And he said that successful business owners, and this applies to property too, join the pull game. Now, the pull game is where you pull and draw opportunities towards you rather than going out, messaging everyone in Facebook groups, trying to push for work and push for business all the time. The best way to describe the pull game is to, like I say, draw opportunities to you. So, for example, me doing this talk to 50 people, I would draw opportunities because I'm speaking to 50 people in one go. Things like appearing on podcasts and, podcasts with thousands of listeners. Again, you join in the pull game. If you do like shows and events like the Property Developer Show is coming up, for example, one way that James will join the pull game is by doing a speaker event at that show and then having a stall there. So again, it's drawing opportunities to him rather than going out trying to network and chat to everyone. You want to join the pull game because it's going to save you time. If you're in the push game, then all your time is going to be spent at networking events up and down the country. You're going to become very tired very quick. And let's face it, we've all got a limited amount of energy and time. You also set yourself apart from what I call the 20% BMV deal in Bristol. Again, we've all seen them on the social media forums. We're all sick to death of them. You don't want to be tarred with that same brush. You don't want to be that person out there going, I've got this deal in this area. Please invest in it, even though I've never met you. So you want to set yourself apart from that crowd. Increased trust makes raising finance easier, something I've already spoken about. And you also attract a higher caliber of investor. So again, you want to be attracting people with more money, people who are easier to work with, people that are going to trust you to do what you're good at. So now I've told you about the benefits of raising your profile. How can you do that? Tip number one is to feature on established podcasts or create your own. But let's face it, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's loads of successful property podcasts out there already to get your name on there. If you are sat here wondering, it's all well and good you saying that, Sam, but maybe I don't have a story or I'm not as experienced or people don't want to talk to me, I will show you a trick to get around that very, very soon. So no matter who you are, no matter what your experience level, this stuff will all apply to you. Posting Facebook groups regularly and video content is key. One of the things I study and I love, and I study under one of the most respected kind of psychologists in the UK, is therapy. I love psychology. I love therapy. And it's something I've got a massive interest in. So I'm going to throw a few psychological facts at you. The way to get more engagement online, people love pictures of your face, people love pictures of food, and people love pictures of pets. Those are the three things that get the most engagement. If you can get a picture of yourself, your food, and your dog in, then you'll triple your engagement. So do it a bit differently. But those are three things people love on Facebook. And that is why video content is so, so powerful. Because video content allows you to get your personality across. Maybe you're not a strong writer either. The problem is with social media posts, it can take a long time to read. People are getting bored of long form copy. Video, it's you, it's got your personality, it's quicker, it's more engaging. And if you do video content, make sure it's got subtitles on it. You can download a free app called CapCut. You literally just upload your video to there and it adds the subtitles for you. So just another quick tip. I forgot what the stats were, but basically lots of people listen to videos without audio. Another trick is to post in Facebook groups. Don't just post to your personal page. When I went from estate agency, I then moved into property sourcing and I used to post to my personal page. And that was great until you've got your nan commenting on all your posts going, well done, really proud of you, you're doing great. And it's lovely. It's really nice for your nan to say those things, but she's not going to invest in me. So what I needed was a higher caliber of investor. And that's why you want to post in Facebook groups. There's Facebook groups out there, like, for example, the Progressive Property Group. I forgot how many people are in there, but you've got thousands of people who are interested in property, who are interested in investing, who are sat in that group. If you want to think outside the box, I would look at things like high-end watch groups, high-end car groups, groups where people have got money are going to be hanging out and then posting those groups regularly. Does this work? Yes. The answer is yes, but consistency is key. When I started doing this when I was property sourcing, I did it for about 6 months consistently. I got to a point where a gentleman approached me and said, I really like your content and I'm interested in investing in you. And what I did was part of the process I use when onboarding someone, which you legally have to do, is to do proof of funds to check that they have the finance available. This gentleman had £2 million cash liquid sat in the bank because he just sold his business and he was now looking to invest in property. And that person approached me from regular posting in Facebook groups. So honestly, I cannot recommend it enough. If you take nothing away from this talk, it's this point here. This is the most important thing in the world. Be authentically you. It can be really tempting when you're on podcasts, when you're at events, when you're doing anything to try and be someone else, to try and be more corporate and more professional than you really are, or to maybe even try and be less corporate and less professional than you are. The truth is, people that have got experience, normally people that have got vast amounts of wealth, can just smell, and pardon my French here, and that's not a joke for you, Gillum, pardon my French, but they can smell bullshit a mile away. It's just the truth. They know when someone's being authentic. We've all had it when we're talking to someone and you go, you're putting on an act, you're putting on a show. I don't know what it is, but I can just tell that you're not really being you. People have got that radar built into them, so don't try and be someone else. If you're not a corporate person, don't come on videos in a suit and tie. Likewise, if you are quite corporate and you are quite formal, wear that shirt. Whatever you do, just be you, because like attracts like. And I don't mean that in a law of attraction way. I mean, typically speaking, people spend time with people that are like them. People spend time with people that they get along with. So by just being you, you'll attract people that are like you, and then you'll work together much better. I probably wouldn't work very well with a shirt and tie corporate person because that's just not really my personality. As you can probably tell, I'm quite laid back. Another tip is to apply for awards. Now, this isn't just because I'm running my own awards ceremony. A lot of people don't realize this, but the way that awards work is you submit yourself forward for an award. I always thought that some random person would see me on LinkedIn, go, he deserves an award, and then put my name forward. Unfortunately, unless you're quite famous and quite popular, it doesn't work that way. And ultimately, no one knows your business as well as you, so no one knows that you deserve to win like you do. The reason that I tell you to apply for awards is two reasons. If you win an award, that's great. It's great credibility because you can now say, I'm an award-winning investor. Psychologically, it's just a lot more impactful on people. And again, it builds that trust. But the second reason that I tell people to apply for awards is actually to help your mental health. Because to apply for an award, you've got to spend about 2 hours telling someone why you are amazing and why you deserve to win and how good you are. And even if you don't get finalized and even if you don't win, the process of spending 2 hours reminding yourself of how far you've come and how good you are will help you overcome imposter syndrome and will make you feel amazing at the end of it. So genuinely apply for awards, if for no other reason than to make yourself feel good. Feature yourself or your projects in industry publications. How do you do that? Just ask the editor of that magazine if you can feature your story. And again, I'll show you a quick trick for getting yourself in magazine shortly from a magazine editor themselves. Speak online or in-person events. Now, before I stop on this, is anyone scared of public speaking? I can see Steve Watkinson and a few others. Is anyone scared of it? Because it's the highest rated fear in America. It's the biggest phobia. So like you're in good company. So if you are scared, don't worry. But what I'll do, because this always helps people, is I will show you how you can overcome your fear of public speaking. Would that be helpful to people? If I can show you how to overcome public speaking, no matter how scared you are, in a really easy step. There's two ways to do this. Number one, back to good old psychology. The same part of your brain that produces the feeling of anxiety and nervousness is the exact same part of the brain that produces the emotions for excitement. So if you are ever scared or if you ever feel nervous, you can just tell yourself that you're excited and your emotions will change because your brain can't tell the difference from the two because it's produced in the same part. Number two, which is a little bit less kind of scientific, is when I used to be a stand-up comedian. This is why I mention it at the start. And being a stand-up comedian was the best, worst thing you could ever do. Because if you go to a property event, even if you completely bomb, people will still be polite to you and go, good talk, that was, really enjoyable. I learned a lot. If you're a comedian and you bomb, no one is that polite to you. They will swear at you. They will swear at you publicly while you're on stage. They do not care. It is ruthless. And there were some times where I'd be a stand-up comedian and you'd perform to 250 people. I performed at Hot Water Comedy Club in Liverpool, and you would have an amazing time. You'd tear the roof off the place and people would love it. They'd be cheering, they'd be laughing. They'd come up to you afterwards and tell you how good you were. Then there'd be times where you'd do a pub in some really rough part of the UK to 3 people on a Friday night that didn't even realise comedy were on. What I found from my experience was that the roughest parts of the UK begin with a B or a D. I'm from Bradford, so I can certify that's true. And if you write down the roughest place, I guarantee it starts with a B or a D. And I'd go to these places, I'd perform in front of 3 people, I'd get heckled, I'd do my 5 minutes, I'd leave, I'd go into the bathroom, I'd kind of look in the mirror and contemplate my life. And every single time without fail, the person who heckled me the most would follow me into the bathroom and they would go, well done, mate, that was really good. That I could never do that. You're far braver than me. And I just thought, why take the time to heckle me and ruin my experience and then say to me afterwards, you did a really good job? And it stopped annoying me when I realized the answer. And it's because even if you put yourself out there and you speak publicly and you go on a podcast, and even if you do terrible and you're not a good speaker and it doesn't work out for you, you will still get the respect from people that go, you know what, that wasn't my cup of tea, but they're still brave enough to do something I could never do. And you will always get respect for that. So never be scared of failing. If you want a less extreme example, I hate spiders. I am terrified of spiders. It's one of my worst phobias, but I have massive respect for anyone that can put a glass around them. It's the exact same concept with public speaking. And then my final piece of advice is to be dope. What do I mean by be dope? I interviewed a guy called Mike. He built a £2 million global marketing agency in 2 years. And I said to Mike, I said, look, you're clearly one of the best marketers in the UK. What is the solution to posting on social media? Do I post every day? Do I post 3 times a week? What is the key to marketing? And he said something I won't forget. He said the key is to be dope. He says it's better to post once a week with really good content than it is to post every single day with content that's okay or a bit rubbish. So whatever you're doing, do it differently and make sure it's the best thing you can produce. And for those of you who maybe still start looking at this presentation and going, really good advice, but I lack the experience, I lack the credibility, I don't have anything interesting to say, none of this is relevant for me, this slide is for you. Because what I've realized as I've interviewed people for Blue Bricks magazine is that every single person is an expert in something, and every single person has a story to tell. And there is someone out there that needs to hear your story, whether that's a story of overcoming hardship or mental health issues, whether that's a story of succeeding or failing. There is someone that's in the position, in a bad position, that needs to hear your story to push them forwards. And everyone's an expert in something. The reason I use this image is this is Charlotte Edwards. Charlotte is one of the judges for the Blue Bricks Property Award. She's an amazing, fantastic, inspiring lady. She's got an incredible story. But I actually think she's so clever in the way that she's presented herself, because Charlotte's a new build property developer, and Charlotte became a new build property developer accidentally. And Charlotte could have quite easily put herself out there and said, I'm a new build developer. But she didn't. She branded herself as the accidental female developer and talked about her story of accidentally falling into that line of work. Now, as you can see, if you look Charlotte up on Instagram, you'll see the content she produces. Charlotte's branding, the way that she's made herself an expert as a female developer, makes her so attractive for investment, for especially for ladies who have got money they want to invest. Ladies, especially corporate ladies, are going to be far more likely to invest in Charlotte than they ever will be in me, because like attracts like, and they can relate to Charlotte a lot more. Maybe you've got an experience as a builder, or you've got experience in something related to property, just like I do in private equity. Bring that forward. I had a guy approach me recently, and he said, "Oh, I did this talk actually," and he said, "I want to appear in Blue Bricks magazine. You know, you said that you'll hear anyone out, and I'd like to appear." And I said, "Okay, not a problem. Let's have a call." We jumped on a Zoom call, and this guy started. He said, I've been investing for about a year now. I've not done any projects yet. I'm just getting my first one now. We're going through the process. Um, is that going to be a good story for you?" And I said, "Look, we target more established people. You know, we need people who've got the experience. We can share that experience, perhaps not now, but let's stay in touch. Maybe in 6 months, a year, 2 years, who knows where you'll be, and we can publish you then." And it's at that point he said something really interesting to me. He said, "Oh, okay." He said, "Well, this course that I'm setting up is working really well." I said, "What course?" He said, "Well, I'm a builder." He says, "I've been a builder for about 10 years now, and I've worked with investors, and I see all the stuff that they get wrong on projects and all the mistakes they make, and I'm just helping people overcome that." And I said, "Well, let me stop you right there. That's a really interesting article, because that person, although he's not got the most experience in property, is an expert in his trade, which has been a builder. And by relating that to property investors, that's super valuable content. I couldn't go through 50 people on a Zoom call and get your experience, but I guarantee if you sat down and went through your expertise and everything you'd ever gone through, you would find things that would be relevant for these podcasts." Because the thing is, as well, as the editor of the magazine, um, we're always looking for good content. So this is the hack. I'll give you the insider hacks on how you can get in any magazine and on any podcast. Talk in the other person's interests. Approach the podcast host and say, "Look, I've got this story, and I think this story would be really beneficial for your listeners, and here's why." That's the key. Because when you approach someone, like people approach me genuinely, and they just send me a message that says, "I want to be on the front cover." No more context, no more nothing. They've got 200 followers on Instagram. I don't know them. I've never met them. And I'm like, right, well, I'm just not going to reply to that. Or, "I want to put my project in your magazine." Okay, but why should I give that time of day? The people that approach me and go, "I've just done this project. I made a mistake on it. But I learned so many lessons, and I hope that by sharing those lessons, I can stop your readers from making the same mistakes." That's dead sexy to me. That's exactly the person I want to talk about. So when you're approaching podcast hosts, when you're approaching magazines, when you're approaching any platform, even if it's for public speaking, just talk about how what you do helps the other person. And this is my final point within the presentation. I think second to final point. Google is your best friend or your worst enemy. Before anyone invests in you, they're going to do the due diligence. They will Google your name. So you need to make sure that there is something there for them to look at, whether that's a website, a LinkedIn profile, an Instagram profile, your Facebook, just things that they can look at and they can read. The worst thing that anyone can find about you on Google is nothing. If they find nothing, then that looks really shady and really dodgy. We've all had it where someone approaches us and the profile picture is a dog, and we go, "You know what? I don't quite trust that person." You need to have stuff online for you. Everyone in this Zoom call is at an advantage over me because I share the name of an extremely famous soul singer. And some of you might know Sam Cooke, some of you might not, which basically means no matter how well I do my SEO or no matter how successful I become, I'm never going to be page one of Google. It is a bit of a personal vendetta that I've got. I am trying to get there. But for you, even if they just type in your full name and then your business name, there needs to be something, at least something that appears. And this is the final point, and that's to use leverage to grow your profile. When I bought Blue Bricks and we were unprofitable and we had no marketing budget, and I remember back in the day where if I wanted to treat myself after working bloody 14 hours to put the magazine together, I'd buy myself a tank of petrol. through the business, and that was the grand sum of £60 because it was a Ford Fiesta that I had. So that's the kind of a level of freedom that we had at the start. I had no marketing budget to go out and get investors. I had no marketing budget to get advertisers, and it was just me. And the only way that we could do it and grow that readership was through leverage. So I was sat thinking, well, if I've got no budget to find investors, who do I know that's got access to them? Who do I know who I can leverage? And the answer was LMPG. LMPG have got 5,500 members and 10,000 landlords on their mailing list. So for me, that seems like a first, a good first stop to grow that following. And Gilliam does this really well as well. Property Filter does an extremely good job of this. So we approached LMPG and I said, look, I want to obviously get a mail blast on your database. I want to become an official partner of LMPG, but what can I do for you in return? So I agreed to put them in the magazine for free and to feature them. I agreed to let them speak at my event and promote them there. And in return, I got a mail blast off them, which got us some more readers. Fast forward a year of working together, I now feature their members in the magazine, and we're official partners of LMPG. Other images here are me sponsoring events. I sponsor events and we do win-win deals with the event organizers. Sometimes you'll have to pay for these things. Other times, like with me, with Blue Bricks, I can go, I'll share your story in Blue Bricks. Can I sponsor your event in turn? And those are just ways that I managed to grow the following using no money. Appearing on Blue Bricks, a property doctor, that's a really popular podcast in the industry. I use the exact same approach that I've just taught you about approaching Andrew, who runs it, and saying, I know I can help your listeners, and I got on that podcast. So leverage other people's platforms. You don't have to go out there and start from scratch trying to find investors. If you know people that have got thousands of followers, thousands of listeners, then align yourself with them. But more importantly than anything, add value. And that's all from me. That QR code there will take you to sign up to Blue Bricks Magazine. We do a 3-month trial. If you would like to subscribe, you can scan that, get a free magazine through the post, join our event on the 30th for free from the comfort of your home. And then if it's not to your taste, you can cancel at any time and it won't cost you a penny. Thank you all so much for having me. It's been different doing this from Zoom, but there's been lots of people the cameras on engaging, so it's been a pleasant experience. I just want to say a massive thank you again for having me. I massively, massively appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. I didn't know you were a stand-up comedian. You know, that explains a lot.
Yeah, you can't tell me. That's why I stopped.
Right. Okay, I see. Yeah, fair play to you. Like it's you're doing really amazing, and I think I learned loads of stuff. So, all the things around raising your profile and posting less, but doing the right things, all the partnerships and things like that. I mean, that was super useful. And then I like the tip about posting in non-property posh groups. Where basically you're the only you're the only one providing this service basically there. It's a different audience, and I find most of the investment I raised were from non-property people. So yeah, that works really well. So yeah, that was really awesome. So let me have a look if we have some questions in the guys. If you want to pop some questions in the chat, and what we'll do is I'll go and find the questions, and we can walk through them. Michelle is saying she's disappointed she can't join the Blue Bricks Awards, but yeah, you probably want to get in touch, follow Sam, or subscribe to the magazine so you'll know about you'll know all about it for the next ones. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So how do you go Sam, from like from the role you had to actually putting yourself in position? What's the story about you having these conversations and actually structuring the deal to buy the magazine?
Yeah, so the story was Nathan, who owned the private equity firm and owned Blue Bricks, got to a point where he needed to sell Blue Bricks. He was buying another business. It was quite a large business, and he just needed to shift focus because when you're doing kind of really big deals, having like smaller unprofitable businesses just didn't make sense anymore. Nathan was both a best friend and a bit of an unofficial mentor to me, really. He knew that I was extremely interested in what he did and wanted to kind of follow in his footsteps. And he said, look, if this is what you want to do, I'm looking to sell Blue Bricks. You work for the business, you know the business, you're in the property industry. Why not just kind of buy the business off me? And that's how it came about. And I ended up acquiring it. It was something I was extremely nervous about at the start, but it was the best choice I ever made.
I mean, that's quite really impressive, yeah. Mo is asking, how much time do you spend now one-to-one meetings as opposed to one-to-many? I'm guessing this is in the context of growing, not so much in the context of the editorial part, but more in terms of
Yeah,
the profile building piece.
growing. Yeah, I think it's a good question. I used to have loads of calls, and so I'm a massive introvert. I really struggle networking, and I sometimes struggle on one-to-one calls. It saps my energy massively. So now what I try and do is have as many calls as I can, but make sure that they are calls that are important. So calls with potential advertisers, calls with potential partners. It's super easy to get on dragged on calls just to have catch-ups. Like that kind of thing it isn't my kind of thing. So I spend a lot of time in meetings. I just make sure they're the right meetings, if that makes sense.
Yeah, awesome. And you mentioned about getting into the magazine, and then there's could you drill down a little bit into, like, everybody's got something unique and interesting and a message, where someone is craving to hear, and I liked you already framed it quite well to say, you might be thinking that you don't, but you are. But can you drill a little bit more on this, because I know, like, people might have like imposter syndrome and say, oh well, there's nothing quite unique about me, how can we help? What can we say to someone to help them sort of self diagnose, and then which questions to ask oneself, and is there like some journaling practice or some things someone can, and a bit of an exercise someone can do to what sort of support and conversations to have with oneself to help going through this going through that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think it all comes down to self-confidence. I'd maybe just take some time writing down your past experience and then write, next to that property and just see if there's anything that relates to that. So for example, I don't know, we're doing a bit of a leap here. Me being a stand-up comedian would relate well to helping people public speak, which means that although I might not jump up and do a talk about service accommodation or new build development, I could go, let me talk to your audience about how I can help them become better public speakers, and in turn, obviously promote yourself and your brand that way. So there'll be lots of things that you've done in your past or hobbies you have that you can actually relate quite nicely to property. And I'd just write that down and journal that really.
Do you have like a seasonal practice where, like, once a year at the end of the year, like all of us are guilty of, like, not appreciating how far we've come, and then do you have like a little ritual? I know I've learned this and it served me really well. I used to have this, big imposter syndrome as well. And then it's you learn, not, and then because you sort of go through your lesson learned from the year, you go through, like, actually, like, these are the stuff, I'm grateful for, or that I've achieved, and things like that. Do you do any of that stuff, or do you see other people do that stuff around you?
Yeah, I don't. I'm really, really bad for it and for putting myself down. But lately I've been forced to do it lately now that we're hiring staff, because I had this really weird, like, the out of body experience the other week where I asked
So
my
much.
member of staff to post the latest issue of Blue Bricks for me. And he's called Zach,
Thank you, I
and
appreciate it.
I was watching him do it. And I realized that that task that he was doing was the best I
No,
was ever
thank you.
given at Blue Bricks magazine. Oh, sorry, let me just do something on my screen. Yeah, and that was the first ever task I was given at Blue Bricks magazine. So I was watching someone do the task that I was doing when I was working for the business. Now I own the business and I was asking them to do it. So for me, lately with the Blue Bricks Awards and with hiring people, I've had that forced upon me that I've started to realize how far I've come. But otherwise, sometimes I just sit down and think about where I was 2 years ago and how that person would feel if they could see me now. And doing that exercise has made me realize that the person I am now is the person that I used to be, would want to be, and aspire to be. And then I hope in 2 years' time, I'm someone I would aspire to be today, if that kind of makes sense. I think I've lost game. I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I think I've lost game. I don't know if I'm gonna have to steer the ship now. Has anyone got any other questions while we wait for the internet to pick back up?
Attracting people to come and work with you as partners or as employees, and the team grows and stuff. So yeah, I really hear and feel what you're talking about. So,
Oh, thank you.
well, let me have a quick look. Do we have more questions in the chat, guys? This is, oh, here we go, to Darren. I remember Guillaume saying that some of the best property partnerships are where uh, there is a numbers person making everything goes through and a people's person, networker, gathering connection and bringing the money. Is it something you have found as well, Sam?
Yeah, I've seen that a lot in other partnerships. I don't have a business partner in Blue Bricks. I have an investor, and that person's the solar opposite to me, and that's helped. I have seen it work well with other people, and it's something I'm exploring at the moment because I'm great at generating ideas and being creative, but I'm terrible at organizing and numbers and stuff like that. With stuff like with the Blue Bricks Awards, that's been a real challenge for me organizing the minutiae of tables, chairs, and dinner. That's not my strong point. So yes, I think it does a good. I think sorry, I've lost track of myself. Thanks for sort of comment come through. I think yeah, it can work very well for other people. I'd say just make sure you work with people you can trust.
Yeah, awesome. So Craig's asking, what is your definition of being dope, Sam? What do you mean? I know what you mean, but can you drill a little down on this?
Yeah, it's something the voice properties do really well as well, and I think it's just doing something different. It's so tempting to see what other people do and go, "I'm going to follow that. It looks like it's working." But it's saying, "Let's do something completely different to everyone else." So, for example, when I set up the Blue Bricks Awards, there's other awards in the property industry like HMO Awards, Property Investor Awards that are established. They've got really good backing by them. They're run by some incredible people. I was like, I'm not competing with them, but if I'm going to do an awards ceremony, do I want it to be, look, at another property awards in a hotel somewhere? I was like, no, we need to do something different and we need to do something with a bang. And that's why I hired a castle. You don't have to go as far as hiring a castle. It's a pretty mad thing to do. And I've realized now that there is some issues that come with that. But it's just going, how can we do something so different that it gets attention? That's what I mean by being dope. And like as you saw with Petrol and Castle, that picture, it really gives that wow factor. And that definitely helps when it came to selling tickets and getting engagement. The reason I picked a castle goes back to knowing your target audience. A lot of property people, you see it all the time. You've got the refurb queens and the HMO queens and everything else. A lot of property people want to feel like royalty. A lot of property people like the high end feel of stuff. So I was like, if I can put them in a castle and make people literally feel like royalty, then we've hit all the points. So knowing your customer avatar is a good way of being dope too.
That's quite interesting. So basically, your whole strategy around the event is all been downstream from your exercise on the avatar you were talking about at the start.
Yeah,
And so that in fact that's so how do you be dope, or how can you be dope is really understanding who you are speaking to and what would be a unique message and a world-class message for this very target audience or this segment of investors you're trying to attract, something we've never seen before. So yeah, that's really, it all ties in together in it.
yeah, absolutely. And the other thing was to get other people to do my marketing for me because I was like, when people are at the event, I wanted them to pull up to the event. And the first thing I wanted them to do was get the phones out and be like, you're never going to believe where I am. Look at me. This is amazing. Get a picture of me in front of the castle. I wanted that as well for good marketing, for other people doing it for me, basically. I had another, we looked at a venue before the castle. I don't think I've ever said this publicly, and it was hilarious. It was a monastery, like this big monastery with the stained glass windows and huge towers, and it was beautiful. But it was in the middle of a council estate. It was so bizarre. So you had to drive through this, like you had to drive past the Premier Corner shop and a pub, and there was loads of chavs outside, and then you go through a gate, like a big metal gate, and then there was this monastery. And the reason we didn't pick it was I wanted that whole experience of people driving to the venue, going through the woods, getting their phones out, and feeling the magic. And if you're driving for a council estate, you don't feel the magic, you just feel danger. So yeah, it was all about bringing everything together.
Yeah, what you describe, it seems like the big landlord trap, like
Yeah,
cage them all, eat them all. It's
yeah,
quite-
yeah, exactly. I was like, I was driving up, so I'm like, surely I can't be in the right place. And then yeah, you just see this monastery.
Awesome. Steve is saying, if you want an excellent website building, speak to Sam. So is that another string you've got on your bow? You're building websites as well.
Yes, I run a marketing agency on the site. I
All
only
right.
work with private clients. It's not something I talk about publicly. It's more something like people with Steve will get along with really well will do. That's yeah, can build websites, copyright, all that kind of stuff. If anyone needs websites building.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Mary said, I had someone who made me an offer for a deal, but need funding or JV to come in. Mary, okay, thanks for mentioning. Patrick's asking, now with possibilities of interest rates climbing after election, what level of interest should we prepare to present to investors in future, perhaps any other benefits to continue to attract them?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. It's a hard one to answer. I think it would depend on the investor that you're working with largely. Like I've seen a lot of people go 12%, and I think they do that to offer as high as possible. But a good friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, he invests in buy-to-let, quite simple, easy stuff at the moment. He's just a little bit older than me, and I was asking him about this actually because we're from the exact same area, and he's got investors that are just family friends and stuff like that. And I think he offers like 6 or 7%. It's not very high, but that's because the investors he's working with are just like working class people that have got a bit of money in the bank and they're investing like 5, 10 grand. So for them, like 6% is miles better than the Bank of England. But if you go in for people like the high net worth, like Simon who I mentioned, people like that are wanting as high as possible because they've got so many options open to them at that level. So it depends on the person.
Yeah, I think in the question, if I can jump in on this, Patrick, is you probably don't want to offer interest, like it's a conversation. So as you attract, using this pool rather than pushing your best rate out and be a commodity, to investors. When you attract the conversations to you, you're having a conversation where it's like, oh well, so why did you reach out to me? Well, what interested you about me? What's your experience about investing? Have you invested in other people's projects before? What good interest? What sort of interest? Would be interested in? And never offer something. Like never assume. Like let them tell you what they want, and people are happy with 5-6%. Like most of the loans we did when we raised £500,000 for portfolio is still around 5-6%. So it's all based on this conversation. So you would really commoditize your investment and your product, your profile by pushing a number, you want to attract conversations and give what people want. So they'll tell you why they clicked, why they messaged you, why they want to have a conversation with you. And then they'll tell you what they want. And all you need is to give them an offer that fits like a glove. You want to be paid quarterly? Oh, we can pay you quarterly. You want to roll it up at the end of the year and we compound your interest into a rolling thing year on year? We do whatever you want, So like it's not really something you can productize in like, oh, we do 50K plus 10% and we pay yearly, we pay quarterly, we pay monthly. Like it's you're cutting yourself away from 90% of the opportunities if you do this. So attract, pull the conversations and ask the questions for people to give you exactly what they want and give them what they want. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thanks so much, Sam. Been great to have you. Do you have a closing sentiment for us today?
No, thank you. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for that. My closing sentiment is if I can help any of you, if you've got an interesting story you want to tell, I'm always happy to talk to and to chat to people as well. I've put my email in there. It's sam@bluebricksmagazine.com. And happy to talk to anyone. I hope you found it useful and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks so much, Sam. Really, really appreciate having you today. Really enjoyed the conversation. So thanks so much for joining us. All of you, thanks so much for joining the Deal Finder Corner. Reach out to Dan, do sign up to the magazine. It's full of really cool resources. And I guess, there's a really cool offer there where it's kind of a no-brainer. So if you're not receiving the magazine, I do recommend it. In the meantime, do visit propertyfilter.co.uk, log on to your Property Filter account, check out the deal blueprint, where you can define your gold mine area, engage with motivated sellers, assess properties in seconds, load your pipeline and make deals, have an endless supply of deals, join the top 1% and become a high achiever deal finder. I hope you really enjoyed today's Deal Finder Corner like I did. Really grateful for Sam joining us and giving us his time today. Really looking forward for speaking with you next week. Thanks so much. Have a great day.